You're listening to the Undefeated Bears podcast with Jay Clark, releasing every Monday at 9 a.m. all season long. Follow us on Twitter at Podcast Bears for the latest Undefeated Bears updates.
Football season. Oh my gosh, we've been waiting for this moment all off-season. Bears Packers is here this Thursday, man. We kicking off the NFL season. NFL season 100, opening up with the biggest rivalry in sports history, the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. And you know, I can't wait to talk about this one, man. We got a juicy week ahead. We'll take a look around the league at some other matchups, games that will be good matchups, good TV, good football. We'll also talk about our X factor of this game, Bears-Packers. Talk about the worst case scenario for our Bears, and then we'll have Jay Clark's final say. Keep it locked right here. E5 coming your way. Taking a look around the league at some other notable games, there are more games this week other than the Bears and the Packers. Little did you guys know. Just scrolling through the league's catalog for the week coming up. We got the Chiefs and the Jaguars. I think that'll be a good AFC battle. You got Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill matching up on the outside. Of course, the explosive Patrick Mahomes out there trying to light up this Jaguars defense, who has a lot to prove this year, coming off of a horrible season compared to what they had the year before. Hopefully looking to snatch that AFC South title with Andrew Luck, retiring on us. Also the Rams and the Panthers, two teams looking to step their foot in the race of the NFC. Two teams that with Cam Newton, with, Jared Goff and that defense, two teams that definitely could, be in the race for the NFC. So they'll be looking to take off there. Then the Sunday night football game, of course, a classic AFC matchup. Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady meet primetime Sunday night to open up the NFL season. It's only right, man. Definitely a couple games to look forward to. Some rookies, Kyler Murray coming in. You got Dallas and the Giants. Definitely some good games to look forward to around the league. A couple primetime spouts, Definitely will be a good week of football, good week of opening football. Look forward to see the outcomes and the results coming up next week. Next, we'll get into a little bit of fantasy talk, looking at week one. See what routes you may go with your lineup, opening up the season. Definitely want to get that W to start off the fantasy year. Keep it locked right here on the Undefeated Bears podcast. Fantasy outlook for Packers week. And we're going to take a look at our guys on the offensive side of the ball briefly here. I do think this will be a high-scoring game for our Bears offense. I think Mitch is going to put up at least a minimum 2 touchdowns, probably run one in. I think Mitch is going to have a good game, a good, well-rounded football game, not a lot of mistakes. He's been studying his defense, his third year in the offense, plenty of weapons around him. I think Tariq Cohen, Allen Robinson, guys such as Trey Burton, are going to be well involved in this game. I don't see why we can't put up 30 points in this one, I don't see why we can't come out high flying. Our guys know the offense, a bunch of returning starters. This Packers defense is very, very questionable on all 3 levels. They lost Clay Matthews, who's been a Green Bay Packer for a long time, definitely has crushed our souls a couple times, minimum. Clay Matthews was a big part of what they did out there in Green Bay, a big part of their image out there on the defense side of the ball. And this is the first season he won't be a part of that. They took old Adrian Amos from us, and we know his weaknesses. We can attack him in coverage every now and then. I don't think this Packers defense is going to be prepared to handle the attack that'll come at them with Matt Nagy calling plays, Trubisky scrambling around, getting Tariq Cohen the ball to make plays, Allen Robinson going up and grabbing 50-50 balls. I do think this will be a good week for the Bears offense. This is not exactly a steel curtain of a defense that we're facing. We should be able to take advantage of some of the weaknesses on Green Bay's defense. And, I say it 100 times, but I don't think these guys can stop us. I don't think their offense will move the ball very well. Our offense should have the ball a majority of the game. Should be a good fantasy week for the Bears offense. Position by position, you look at it, quarterback, let's get that out the way. We know we'll give Green Bay that advantage. Aaron Rodgers is a hell of a football player. He's broken Bear fan hearts time after time after time again. Need I remind you of week 1 last season when the one-leg man led a comeback on us after Kahlil Mack, earned his full paycheck in the first half of football. But looking at this year, Aaron Rodgers once again will retain the more superior quarterback in this game and, quite frankly, in pretty much any game he'll play. You look at the running back and receivers, I give both of those nods to the Chicago Bears. We have better weapons than the Green Bay Packers. I think that goes without saying. Our receiver core is much deeper. Our running backs are much more talented. As far as weapons to throw to, there's no doubt in my mind Mitchell Trubisky has a better selection to choose from. As far as the offensive line, as I thought about this, pondered myself, I couldn't really come up with the decision. So I took to Pro Football Focus to kind of point me in the right direction. And they actually have the Packers' offensive line ranked 8th in the league and the Bears' offensive line ranked at 9. So I'm going to leave those remain at a split decision. I don't think either side has the advantage up front in the trenches. I think it's going to come down to playmakers and good quarterback play. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, do we really need to talk about this? There is not a defense in the NFL that's going to match up with these Bears, man. Week by week, player by player, defensive line, linebackers, defensive back. The Bears they're deep, man, on defense. Not a hole in sight, solid at all 11 positions. I don't see the Bears, taking a step back this year. I think this first game of the year is going to be a reminder for everybody that this defense is serious, man. Pro Football Focus had the Chicago Bears defensive line ranked number 1 in the NFL. They had the defensive backs ranked number 2 in the NFL. The linebacker core, Kahlil Mack, Leonard Floyd, Trevathan, and Roquan Smith, I ranked them number 1 probably in the last 3 or 4 years coming into this season and the talent that they have put together. And Kwiatkowski, man, he might get some playing time this year. He's been on our roster for a couple years now. He seems ready. He's been the leader of the defense this preseason. He's been out there flying around, making plays, making sacks, likely leading the preseason in tackles. I can't confirm that. But this Bears defense, they are who they are. Aaron Rodgers is not looking forward to Thursday, September 5th. He's not looking forward to matching up against his defense. He's not looking forward to looking Kahlil Mack in the eye every snap of the game, man. This defense will prevail in this game. I do think we ultimately will overpower the Green Bay Packers on the defensive side of the ball. It's just going to come down to clean football, man. It's the first game of the season. Each side is going to have its rough spots in the road. I do think this is going to be some crisp football. These are 2 veteran teams who've been chopping at the bit to get on the field with each other. So don't expect too much sloppy football. I think these are going to be very crisp game plans, crisp players, and veteran leaders showing out for their teams, man. I'm just sick and tired of everybody acting like the Packers are some world beaters. Them boys went 6-9-1 last season. 6-9-1. And if you ask me, that's closer to 6-10 than 7-9. You know what I mean? So these Packers ain't that good, man. They won 6 ball games last year. They split the games with us. They beat us week 1 in a heartbreaker. Beat the snot out of them in the first half. Kahlil Mack earned, 6 years of pay and 1 half of football. So that happened. The Packers just aren't that good, man. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. That defense is very, yeah. I mean, we're going to come out and put 30 points on their head. and see how many points Aaron Rodgers can put on the board for his side of the ball, man. I think these Packers are overrated. I think the rivalry and the history of the Jay Cutler era, the Mark Trestman era, the John Fox era is still relevant and prevalent in the minds of football fans. I got a buddy that's a Chargers fan, man, and I say, hey, this one might be a blowout, man. And he tries to calm me down. He reminds me that, there's still a football game to be played. Anything is possible. And I tell him, man, at the end of the day, just as anything is possible, so is a blowout. So I tell him, man, look, this game could get ugly real fast. These Bears are coming out strong. It'll probably be a 2-touchdown win. 2 touchdowns, 2 possessions are going to win this football game, man. I'm thinking 31-10. I'm excited. I'm fired up. And I can't wait to beat the living snot out of those old cheeseheads come Thursday. Keep it locked right here next. We'll talk about our X factor of the game. When thinking about the X factor of this football game, and I'm going to describe that as who has the biggest bang or bust impact on this game. The X factor of this football game, if you ask me, is going to be Mitchell Trubisky. Now, going with the quarterback is kind of obvious, but the reason I say Mitchell Trubisky is because if this guy comes out and throws for, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, the headlines Monday will be talking about how the Chicago Bears have retained their crown in the NFC North. If the man comes out and throws for, say, 200 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks, then it's quite obvious who probably won that football game. Mitchell Trubisky is going to come out and have to ball, man. Aaron Rodgers is not going to roll over, lay down and just let these Bears take the crown, man. Aaron Rodgers is going to come out flinging. He's going to come out competitive, fired up, and wanting to prove that he's still the best quarterback in the NFL. Mitchell Trubisky is going to have the best game he's had against the Packers in order for us to deliver this beatdown on Thursday night. Now, if you look at his history against the Packers, each game he's played, he has improved, he has gotten better. The last game, the second game last year, put up 120 QB rating, threw for a couple touchdowns, and overall had a very good football game. We need more of that. We need more of that in this game. The defense is going to do what they do. At the end of the day, the defense is going to be there. There's no way in heck, you ask me, that Aaron Rodgers is going to put, 20-plus points up against this defense. They're going to do their job. The Packers defense, on the other hand, pretty overrated, man. Not much talent on this defense. They got some young cats, but, there's no reason the Bears shouldn't come out and put 30 on their head, man. Mitchell Trubisky should light this team up. I think this year the Bears are going to be even closer to a near air raid attack. Mitch is going to have a lot of opportunities to put the ball in the air, man. He's got a lot of playmakers around him that can make things happen. So I'm looking for Mitch to have about 300 yards in this game, maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns, maybe even run one in. I'm thinking high scoring total for the Bears. I don't know what the Packers will do on that side of the ball. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say 31-10. I don't think this game is going to be close, man. I don't think it. I think the Packers are getting a little too much love, a little too much hype. Riding his coattails of Aaron Rodgers and his talent. I think the Packers are on the downhill of the Aaron Rodgers era, and I do think that era is going to plummet this season. I have the Packers going about 6-10, 7-9 at best. May I remind you, they went 6-9-1 last year, man. 6-9-1. The Bears went 12-4 last season, guys. This team they're facing went 6-9-1. I don't expect this game to be overly competitive. I expect us to come out and manhandle these guys. And it's going to start with the X factor, Mitchell Trubisky. Money-making Mitch. Let's get it done this week, man. How about it? The worst-case scenario of this football game has to do with Matt Nagy resting starters all throughout the preseason. The starters didn't see much playing time in the preseason at all, man. And, through some social media chatter, Bears Twitter, Bears Facebook, a lot of people are concerned about, Matt Nagy has not been playing our starters. These guys might come out tight. These guys might come out, dare I say, nervous. I don't think, the more I think about the defense being nervous, the more laughable that thought is. I mean, these guys are, he's a beast on that side of the ball. They got one job out there. It's not a doubt in my mind they're going to get the job done. Kahlil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Eddie J, Quan, Kyle Fuller, these boys are going to be ready. So I can't speak on them. But offensively, Allen Robinson, he's had the injury issues. Tariq Cohen, the fumble issues. I feel like every year at the beginning of the season, Tariq Cohen has that jitter moment. A fumble on a punt return or something. Not that I would wish that upon him, but, these guys get nervous on the offensive side of the ball. Mitch, he's going to have to lead the charge, man. This is make or break year for Mitch Trubisky. This is you go one way or you go the other. And this first game, this first series, is going to tell a lot of things about Mitchell Trubisky. Where is he at? Is he the guy or is he a guy? Will be the question we want answered. So Matt Nagy resting the starters, I do think could potentially come back and bite us. But it's just the more I think about it, man, this team doesn't seem like one that needs to be, overly motivated. Danny Trevathan, cats like that, you got them in the locker room, man, it does the job for itself. These people are internally motivated. They know what they want. They know the ultimate goal. And quite frankly, I think they're hungry to go get it. It's going to be a good one, man. Jay Clark's final say this week. Ultimately, the Bears are going to win this football game, guys. Better talented football team, more well-rounded football team. Quite frankly, I think they're looking, I don't want to say they're looking past the Packers. They just know this game sets the stage for the season. The Bears are concerned about teams far greater than the Green Bay Packers this season. Teams such as the New Orleans Saints, the Los Angeles Rams. We have to mention the Philadelphia Eagles, who took us out last year. Cam Newton in Carolina, Dallas Cowboys, the Minnesota Vikings. The Packers just aren't there, man. If you ask me, they're not in the NFC playoff race. If you ask me, they're not in the NFC divisional race. I have the Packers finishing well behind the Bears and the Vikings this season. I do not think they'll be in a wild card race. I think the Vikings and the Bears will be well above water as compared to the Packers in the divisional race. Packers should go about 6-10, 7-9 at best. A great quarterback can definitely win you 7 football games in the NFL, but a bad defense can easily lose you 9. Can lose you 8-9 games, I don't think the Packers have it. I will say it 100 times. Aaron Rodgers will be a wise man to get the hell out of the NFC North at his earliest convenience, at his earliest opportunity. This Bears defense is going nowhere. This Vikings defense is going nowhere. His offensive line is, it's been about the same for the last 5-6 years. Aaron Rodgers has no business playing the latter part of his career against 2 ferocious defenses in this division. Quite honestly, I think he'll end up in New England. I've told a couple of my buddies this. I think Aaron Rodgers will end up in New England after TB12 retires. It's the only scenario that makes sense, Aaron Rodgers, you've pierced our hearts. You've crushed our souls. You won games with your late game heroics time and time again. Last year, week 1, was the last time I'll say Aaron Rodgers will beat the Bears. The last time. And he had to go out in that fashion. He had to remind us one last time what he's done to us throughout his tenure with the Green Bay Packers. But no more. No more Aaron Rodgers. It's Bear time now.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Undefeated Bears podcast. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for the latest updates. Win, lose, or draw, Bears fan remain undefeated.